Good morning, good morning, good morning. I have missed all of you. My goodness. Now, first off, before I get going, do I have any background noise? The reason I'm asking is because I have a fan on me. We got power back, but the AC went out. You know, when it rains, it pours. Good morning, Izzy. Good morning, Diva. Good morning, Carol. Good morning, Rexy. Hello, hello, hello. Slim is back. Mermaid. Jody says you sound great. Okay, so no background noise. Okay, I see you says no, ma'am. Angel says, "Oh my God, you're here! Yay! Oh, I'm here. I am here. Let me tell you what. Um, I don't know what the hell I did to create this, but I tell you what, it's been a bad week. And what a week. We have this I wouldn't even call it a submarine. I would call it basically a geo metro down in the ocean, floating around, looking at the Titanic. Mermaid said, Brooks, did OJ's bacon go bad? Yes, it did. OJ is going to get new bacon. Yep, he did get one piece today that seemed like it was okay. Woo! Harmony Montgomery. That affidavit gave me nightmares. And I'm not going to lie, I've probably read it 5 or 6 times. I've had a lot of time on my hands, if you know what I mean. That, and I think I've read pretty much every John Grisham novel that there is. That's what OJ and I have been doing. It's crazy. So anyway, I'm going to start with what happened with us on Saturday. Hang on.
You can see what we're dealing with here. A lot of open farmland, but this land belongs to someone. And so definitely concerned about this as it's getting better and better organized moving to the east here. So right now, this is going to be making its way very close to Raiden, and we're going to be south of Arnett. So very close to Higgins. I'm sorry, very close to Higgins. That's getting close. So there you go. Tornado warning is coming for this cell. There you go. And
okay, so this series of storms started way out in western Oklahoma. We had 3 tornadoes touch down around us. The destruction is horrible. And they're not even in Oklahoma standards what we consider big tornadoes. We're like, oh, those are baby tornadoes. One was a EF1, one was like an EF6. Hello, Liplock. Liplock knows about tornadoes. She's basically my neighbor. But they do what they do.
And I tell you what, this is what we were watching for, and that's getting lower and lower. Let's go back out to Buck. Buck, this is almost halfway to the ground. How's it look?
Yeah, Damon, it's over halfway to the ground. I do not see anything on the ground though, but I do feel like it's really picked up again here in the last 30 seconds. And you can see how light it's getting. If you're in the Arnett area or anywhere south of Arnett at this time, you need to be taking your tornado precautions right now. Back to you, Damon.
Yeah, Buck, I tell you what, and Buck, your audio is great. Your picture is solid, but look at that. That's going to do it. That's going to do it. So again, tornado warning coming for this cell. Buck, you're reporting you and Shane out on this storm, and so. But look at that right there. That goes to show you just the size of this thing. But that right there, that's more than halfway down. That's got to be on the ground now.
Okay, so what was a really, really big bitch, okay, broke off into 3 from what I'm understanding, but I'm no meteorologist. So there was 3 in our area. And it's the most extensive power outage we've had since the ice storm of 2007. Tiffany made it in. Tiffany is all too familiar with tornadoes.
Buck, Buck, what do you see?
Yeah, Damon, this tornado is on the ground. The condensation funnel is not all the way to the ground, but you can tell, just look at the formation of this, and you can see it is now touching down as it gets lower and lower at the condensation funnel.
Yeah, that is definitely it right there. I mean, just look at how fast it developed. That tornado, you can see it right there. Buck, you're familiar with this area. Buck, do you see any homes in the path?
No, Damon, this is mostly rural area out here. We're probably a good, probably 5 miles to the west of Arnett. I would say this is just crossing the state line right now. And so, but if you're in Arnett or anywhere south of Arnett, you need to be taking your.
So that's where it started, and it was huge. All right. I heard the sirens going off, which if you're from Oklahoma, you understand that sirens really don't scare anybody. I was like, oh, God, the sirens are going on. But then I could feel the windows shake, and I knew there was something going on. Now, the meteorologist said we had straight line winds of 130 miles an hour. I'm like, okay, super duper. Oh, thank you for the membership's Carol Claus. Yep, DT driver slept through it. We've had so many warnings. You know, when you've lived in Oklahoma your whole life, you're like, God, would you turn that thing off? But when you feel the windows shake, you know something different's going on. Hello, Delana.
Tornado precaution. This is going to stick together for a little bit, I think.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I mean, we definitely see this. Again, this is a tornado out near Arnett. Again, just look at that. And so that continues to spin. It's moving to the east right now at about 20 miles per hour. But just look at that tornado right there. Again, out near Arnett. This is going to be out near Arnett. This is Buck. Is this moving right at you? Okay, we'll get.
You know, Damon, I feel like it's moving due east right now. If not, maybe sliding a little bit to the south, but it's definitely moving east.
Yeah,
it has lifted at this point. I can't see underneath it now. It does seem like it's lifted a little bit, but it's still a significant funnel right now, right here behind.
Not to make fun of the tornado, but if you look at the screen, what does that remind you of? It's like when I was trying to quit smoking, and my husband was like, I've got something for you to take your mind off of it. And I'm like, put that away. That's not what I need in my mouth, if you know what I mean. That's what it looks like on the screen.
Behind us, west of Shattuck.
Well, I tell you what, I mean, that storm went up fast. That storm went up, and Buck, you and Shane are both out on this. And so we know how the.
Ooh, it doesn't have erectile dysfunction, does it? Look at that. Woo! Hairy balls and all.
The population is out here in this part of the state, but this land belongs to someone. And so we're here to make sure that everyone knows what's coming in their direction. But again, for Arnett, watching this one real close, if we can do just a 2-box, just do a 2-box, we'll put the radar up and then also keep buckshot up here, because that right there continues to still.
Hang on, did he say buckshot? Did he say buckshot? All right, now the tornado peen is crooked. You can actually see, I don't know if you can see my cursor. It looks like it's going to pee. Woo! Leo said, what's coming in their direction? For real.
Look pretty impressive. It definitely came down.
All right, so that was our Saturday night. got fucked without the good feeling, if you know what I mean. Thankfully, there were no fatalities. There were no fatalities. But we've had a lot of neighbors helping neighbors, and I absolutely love that. Several high school football teams have been helping clean up the debris. And this is the kind of stories I really like. You will not see any penises in the sky in this one. Sorry for the porn bomb.
Facing the same challenges as much of Green Country. Power still out in several parts of the community, and debris has made a mess of things. But as 2 News Oklahoma's Brody Myers found out, they're making progress with some help from local high school students.
Right now, some Sand Springs football players are breaking a sweat. They're doing heavy lifting. They've even got some cuts on their legs. But it's not because they're at football practice. The Sandites are helping their neighbors. With power out on campus, Coach Bobby Klink decided to scrap practice for a few days.
I think they're tired, but it's just like anything. You get some gratification when doing nice things for people.
If they are tired, they're doing a good job of hiding it. I watched the guys clean up a house near the high school. They bundled up hundreds of pieces of debris, raked the lawn, hauled off some of the brush, and moved on to the next house. It took them less than 20 minutes.
I'm feeling pretty good. I feel like it's the best thing for us. We work out, we do everything for us, and we need to stop focusing just on us and focus on our community sometimes. And that's how I feel about this.
The players reported at 7 a.m. and split up into groups of 5 or 6. They planned to tackle about 10 houses.
And Sand Springs isn't the only one. Bixby, Broken Arrow, Owasso, Claremore, Tulsa Union, so many schools. So when we talk about the kids in this generation, these are really good kids that stepped up. I mean, they really stepped up. So did a lot of the Okies. Let me tell you what, they tried to fix their own power lines. 222 people went to the ER this week for chainsaw accidents and electrocution. You don't give an Okie a wrench by electricity.
With more requests expected.
Just out here trying to give back to the community since they do give a lot to us. So it's nice to show some kindness back in return.
Now that Sand Springs football players have come out and helped, this driveway is much cleaner. It makes it easier for the family living here to leave and solve some other issues they're facing. Candy Munaretto tells me she owns a restaurant in Sand Springs with just enough power to keep a bad situation from becoming dire.
So far, so good. We've lost a few coolers, but I think it's nothing that we can't get through and reopen if all the electricity comes back on today.
Munaretto tried to do some of the cleanup herself, but couldn't do as much as the players.
Just the fact that they came down and helped, I can't tell you how proud I am. Just makes me want to cry because it's amazing. We're fortunate to have such a great group of community here.
Just as we were leaving the house, the Sandites were finishing up and headed to the next house on the list.
Having people who care about others without a price tag is the absolute best thing we can have around here. And I love it here.
When disaster strikes, Oklahomans have a lot of unknowns. But we can count on one thing: the Oklahoma Standard on display. Reporting in Sand Springs, I'm Brody Myers, 2 News, Oklahoma.
It's been a hell of a week. Hello, Avy. Hello, Bob. Woo, I missed you guys. Now then, let me ask you, if you had $250,000, what would you do with it? Would you get into a somewhat of a submarine and go down to see the Titanic wreckage? Personally, I would not, because I am scared of fire and water. Okay, I've read the Bible. Not the whole thing, but, you know, pieces of it. What is going on underneath the ocean, basically on the ocean floor, is scary as hell. I'm going to start from the beginning. Hello, Zoe. Crafty Chris said I'd pay off my house. I'm fascinated with the Titanic. Not going to lie. Not just the movie. I did like the movie, don't get me wrong. The whole history of it. And I'm seeing a lot of similarities between this voyage and the RMS Titanic. I really am. You have two owners that are cutting corners because safety is expensive. It is. You have people that want the best of the best. Now, what I'm not liking is how many people online are saying they deserved it. That's what you get for spending your money that way. These are human beings that at this time, as we are doing this show right now, they are gasping for air. This is not the way you want to go. It's horrible. We had a situation yesterday, and just me had to correct it. We never, ever, ever laugh about people dying, gasping for air. These people have contributed to society. Their families. They're breathing their last breath. Court case said it's their money. They can spend it as they please. That's exactly right. I cannot believe what is going on right now, what these people are saying. It's ridiculous. You're telling me because they took their last vacation? That'd be like, let's say Gaelic girl went to Dollywood and the roller coaster broke. I wouldn't be like, well, that's what Gaelic girl gets for going to Dollywood. You never go to Dollywood. Ridiculous. I cannot believe it because this is terrifying. Hang on. Trev Times said, do people who buy expensive cars deserve car accidents? Nope. Have some compassion because what they're going through is something that none of us would ever want to experience. I have a hard time watching any of it because I get claustrophobic. Hell, if I have too many things on the counter, I have a panic attack. Let's go to the beginning. You know how we do it around here. This is one of the advertisements to take you to the bottom of the ocean to see the wreckage of the Titanic.
We are inside the submersible Titan, which is a carbon fiber and titanium sub that can go to the depths of the Titanic. Hi, my name is Stockton Rush. I'm the CEO and founder of OceanGate. Let's take a look at Titan. So we're coming into the sub. This is the only toilet available on a deep diving submersible. Best seat in the house. You can look out the viewport.
Now, I will say this. For $250,000, I better have an air-conditioned and heated toilet. No way would I be in this thing. No way.
We put a privacy screen in, turn up the music, and it's very popular. We have our control screen here, our sonar screen here, and we can put any image we want in the back. taken a completely new approach to the sub design, and it's all run with this game controller and these touch screens. So if you want to go forward, you press forward. If you want to go back, you go back, turn left, turn right, go down, go up. And it's Bluetooth, so I can hand it to anybody. And it's meant for a 16-year-old to throw it around, and super durable. We keep a couple of spares on board just in case. This is the second year we've been out to the Titanic. We went out in 5 8-day missions. We did about 10 dives to the wreck site of the Titanic, and we did an extra dive on an undiscovered reef that we found. Completely privately funded operation, and we're funded by, we call mission specialists, who help support the mission. So they take quite a bit of money to come and join us. Years ago,
All right. Much like the man that built the Titanic, not with his own hands, this guy on the screen, he cut a lot of corners. He was buying parts from Camper World. He was buying game controllers from Amazon. Okay? Now, you don't go 3 miles down in the ocean with a game controller. You don't. You see, we have the Navy, and they have submarines down in the ocean for 10 months at a time, and there's no controller. And they're down there because they want to make sure that other countries are not trying to attack us from the ocean. You know, he was very confident in what he was doing, and it did work before. It did work before. And he's one of the ones missing.
Yeah, Russians took tourists out to the Titanic, and it was just sort of a look and see thing. We really are focusing on the science around it. We want to document what the wreck is like now, and also try to predict what it'll be like in the future. It's continuing to decay, and it seems to be accelerating. It's being eaten by a bacteria, so it's literally being eaten by the ocean. It's not rusting away. So these things that are called rusticles are actually the byproduct of a bacteria that eats the iron. And as it does that, these decks are collapsing. The promenade deck continues to collapse forward. We saw some of the railing is starting to lose its structural strength, which is really a sad thing. That's when it's going to stop looking like the Titanic. The interest in the Titanic is the reason we go there, because people are willing to fund this kind of exploration and science, and that gives a completely different research component that almost nowhere else in the deep ocean can you get funding to go back every year for decades and see how coral reefs develop, and see how metals decay, and see how currents change. I mean, that just, you can't justify that. No government will pay for that. Nobody wants to go back to just some old reef, but people do want to go back to the Titanic. And that's why we go, is because people want to go.
And honestly, I'm mesmerized by the Titanic. Anything I can get my hands on, I read about it. I think it was horrible what happened to those people. Now, as we know on the Titanic, if you were lower class, you died. If you were upper class, you got a boat. Now, in this case, you have people that are actually beyond upper class. And Lisa Durr had a really good point. She said they could be trapped in the Titanic. It's a huge ship. It's a huge ship.
Out for the missing deep sea sub and the 5 people on board. There's less than 12 hours now of oxygen.
Less than 12 hours now of oxygen. This is horrible. Now, the Coast Guard says they can hear banging down in there. They can hear banging down in there. So I'm wondering, like I said, Are they in the Titanic?
Left. Hopes grew after sonar buoys picked up sounds yesterday and again this morning, but so far a search of the area has come up empty. The Titan began its dive on Sunday, bound for the wreckage of the Titanic 2 miles below the surface. It sent its last signal less than 2 hours later. A fleet of aircraft and ships from the U.S. and Canada probing an area roughly twice the size of Connecticut, above and below the water. And more are on the way, including a French ship carrying a deep-sea robot equipped with a camera and arms that could reach the Titanic and free the sub if it's stuck.
Good God. I tell you what, engineering always amazes me. So if it's stuck somewhere in the Titanic, they're saying this robot can get it out. This is crazy. Candalee Woodward said first class ticket on the Titanic was $150. Think about that. That's a ton of money. To me, it's a ton of money now. It's a lot of money now. But back then, that was a mint.
Equipped with a camera and arms that could reach the Titanic and free the sub if it's stuck. But even if that robot finds it, it doesn't have the power to lift it to the surface. Still, despite the challenges, tonight's search and rescue crews remain focused on the mission. ABC's Gio Benitez leads us off in Halifax, Nova Scotia, again tonight.
Tonight, rescuers are running out of time and options to save the crew of the missing Titan submersible. Those 5 passengers trapped inside could have just under 12 hours of breathable air left.
This is a search and rescue mission, 100%. We'll continue to put every available asset that we have in an effort to find the Titan and the crew members.
Since yesterday, sonar buoys have detected several banging-like underwater noises, but a search has turned up nothing. Navy experts now studying those sounds.
We need to have hope, right? But I can't tell you what the noises are.
But with the clock ticking down, rescue options are limited. Tonight, there are no ships from the U.S. or any other country on scene that could lift the 23,000-pound Titan if it's still submerged.
Goodness. To be quite honest, and I'm not trying to be Debbie Downer here, but by now, they are probably, they're hurting. Let me just put it that way. They're hurting. Hello, Marie Condon.
A Navy deep salvage system has arrived in Newfoundland, but it's days away from the search zone. A French ship is expected to arrive tonight with a deep-sea robot equipped with cameras and arms that could free the sub if it was stuck, but it cannot lift it to the surface. Tonight, the crew facing dire conditions in that 22-foot-long capsule in the dark with temperatures below freezing.
Your body will start shivering to generate heat, and that will use up more oxygen. So that's not a good thing.
The sub is the only passenger vessel in the world capable of taking a group that size to the Titanic, 2.4 miles underwater. Mike Reese was on that trip just last year.
It is always in the back of your head that this is dangerous and any small problem will turn into a major catastrophe.
I get claustrophobic in elevators. And like DT Driver said, the water is freezing. Freezing down there.
The crew on Titan expeditions is locked in from the outside with 17 bolts with no escape hatch. Seen here in this CBS Sunday Morning profile on Ocean Gate and its founder, Stockton Rush.
Copy that.
Who insisted the Titan is high-tech, but simple to operate.
We run the whole thing with this game controller. The pressure vessel is not MacGyver at all because that's where we work with Boeing and NASA and the University of Washington. Everything else can fail. Your thrusters can go, your lights can go, you're still going to be safe.
But the University of Washington tells ABC News it was not involved in the design, engineering, or testing of the Titan. NASA saying they were consulted, but did not conduct testing and manufacturing via its workforce or facilities. Tonight, the fate of 5 explorers hanging in the balance.
Finding them is the first step.
And not to add insult to injury, this is not for research. No one's down there with National Geographic. This is a vacation. This is exploration. This is curiosity. And it's horrible what is going on. ICU said a friend that was in the Navy said they will not be declared deceased until the sea is ready to give them up. Whoa. God.
5 explorers hanging in the balance.
Finding them is the first step. They still have to get them on the ship, and they still have to unbolt them. So plug that into your clock.
Among the many concerns there, Gio Benitez joining us now. And Gio, even if they can locate the sub, given the resources here, what kind of rescues are still possible?
Well, Whit, at this point, they really have the best chance only if the Titan has floated to the surface and they're able to find them between now and tomorrow morning. That is when the air runs out.
All right,
Whit.
Gio Benitez for us again tonight. Thanks so much.
Hi.
Okay, and that was last night. If we don't find them by the morning, then it's not good. It's not good. And also, it's the ocean. The ocean. And it's also the Atlantic Ocean. That's a very rough ocean. Very rough. We were in, I say we, my husband and I went to Miami several years ago. And my husband got caught in a riptide. When the ocean spit him back out, and this was miles down the beach. His swim trunks were so full of sand. The ocean is not forgiving. They could be anywhere. I still think with the knocking sounds, I still think they could be inside the Titanic. Because the Coast Guard has got the sonar on there and they're, we shall see. Let's look at this.
Now, the biggest reason this sub is so hard to find is because it is really small. On the outside, this thing is 22 feet long. It's about 8 feet tall, and that's just on the outside. But on the inside where people sit, it's more like the size of an elevator, but sideways. Check this out. Using this wall here, and we measured, this is pretty close to the actual scale of just how much room the 5 inside have to sit down. Remember, it's less than 5 feet tall, so they can't stand up. There are no chairs. Everyone is sitting on the ground. And we did talk to Aaron Newman, a former passenger and investor. He shared some pictures with us. And see this ledge right here? This is the only place where people can dangle their legs over the edge to look out the only window in the sub. That's about 21 inches across. And then this is what it looked like going down. When people need to use the bathroom, there's a small toilet in the cap in the front of that window. Newman took this trip back in 2021 along with the missing sea.
Well, they're not supposed to be down there for days. They go down, they see the Titanic, and they come up. Rexy said the knocking sounds could be the sub banging against the Titanic. Yeah, that's what I'm wondering too.
CEO Stockton Rush, and he said he felt safe the entire time. So that's what it looks like on the inside of the vessel. And if any of those passengers are still alive, they are most likely going to be banging on the walls, hoping those noises get picked up by sonar, which is something that we heard yesterday as we talked to Dr. Jules Jaffe. He's a research oceanographer at UC San Diego. Dr. Jaffe helped find the Titanic. He was a part of the team that helped discover the Titanic so many years ago. Dr. Jaffe, thank you very much for joining us. guess. I want to start with the possibility that this sub maybe lost its thrusters. If it is just sitting somewhere, how much can the ocean move it around?
Well, if it's sitting on the seafloor, the answer would be not much. If it was sitting in the water column, then the answer is quite a bit, because remember, it's nearly 4 days since it was launched. And I loved your analogy of the three-dimensional volume. And thinking about that three-dimensional volume, you can think about the water transporting things at every depth in almost every direction. And now, even if the water is going fairly slowly, by the time you get 4 days later, they can be a fair ways off site. I hope they're more like in the water column than sitting on the bottom, because I think that creates a better scenario for rescue. And you already talked about this wonderful underwater robot that the French are bringing that has a 14,000-foot dive capability. And if we somehow were able to figure out where it was, and I would suggest we do that not by listening to what seems like noises from something that we don't know really what it is, but by using their hydrographic survey sonar to look for a bright object underwater, there's a chance that the robot could go hook a tether onto it and bring it up extremely slowly. And then if it's on the surface, we could have divers come out to meet it and pop a little bit of it, so that the main problem is just air right now. The other problem, of course, and it may be that they are...
Air is a big deal. Oxygen is a big deal. God, this is giving me anxiety, and I'm not even in there. Wiz said they have to find it first. You're exactly right. You're exactly right. They have to find it first.
Conserving oxygen, because if they were imagining that they were run out of oxygen, the smart thing to do would be to reduce your metabolic effort and perhaps just lay very still as possible. And so maybe we're overestimating maybe we're thinking it's going to run out of air sooner than possible. But there are a number of possibilities at this point, but I'm so sad that the situation is so dire, frankly.
No, it's horrible to watch. I mean, I think you hit it right on the head. So many times we're describing this as rescue crews looking for this sub, but they're not looking for this sub. They're listening for this sub, right? We can't see it. It could be in pitch black conditions. And from what you described, if it is in that water column, it sounds like if it gets a sonar ping, it can move very quickly to somewhere else. Is that right?
Well, not too quickly. I mean, the underwater currents are about as fast as my hands are moving across the screen in most of the ocean. So it's not like you're in a river or something like that. It's more you're being, we use the fancy word, advection, to be carried along. So I think it's just, the physics is velocity times time. So even if the velocity is small, if the time is big, it can go quite a long distance away, sadly. So I do have a glimmer of hope that we could get that French vessel out there, do the hydrographic survey, get the robot down. But of course, we're all stressed and worrying about what's going on right now.
Could you imagine being in there and all these people saying, this was stupid, this was stupid? You know, the woulda, coulda, shoulda people, I can't stand. We do stupid shit all the time. We're humans. But when we have people that are at the bottom of the ocean gasping for air, that's not the time to say, I don't know why you didn't go to Hawaii. I don't know why you didn't do this. That's crazy. Roshan Aloha said, I also heard every time it goes down, it disintegrates a little more every time. I heard that too. I heard that too, my friend.
And so if the sub is intact, it is protected from all the extreme pressures at that depth in the ocean, right?
Oh, absolutely. It was designed, it's 6,000 pounds per square inch at that depth. And when you think about how the tremendous
Venice said, who cares? It was such a stupid thing to do. That's it. Well, you're here, so you're obviously concerned. Or are you just here to call people stupid that are dying? Could you imagine if some sort of tragedy hit you and people were calling you stupid? See, this is what I don't understand. You have people that they can spend their money however they want. They can go on vacation however they want. People said that people were stupid when the tsunami hit. They're like, why would you even go down there? What is wrong with people? I don't get it. And when you say, who cares? I don't understand you because you're here. You're here. There are people that are dying.
forces on it. It's certainly being compressed. The question is whether it would actually be ruptured. And there's been a lot of talk online about the possibility that the integrity of the vehicle was compromised. And what I was imagining was that the company that made this vehicle should be doing periodic non-destructive tests and evaluation. So for instance, when we fly on a plane, we feel secure that the plane is going to be intact. But the technology behind that is that there are crews that are using ultrasonic probes to look at the materials on that plane to make sure that they're not cracked open. And I am worried that every time this thing goes down and comes out, it actually creates a stress on the structure. And are the manufacturers and managers of this endeavor, which I endorse, recreational deep sea ocean, to teach people how wonderful the ocean is, are we monitoring its mechanical integrity to the point that we needed to? And it's always 2020 hindsight. I guess the only other thing I would like to say is if in fact we do lose the participants, perhaps we can recover the vessel and learn what went wrong so that in the future we can do a better job. I mean, we all watched the Challenger explode. It was heartbreaking, but we still went back to space. And I still think the exploration of the deep sea ocean and the recreational use of it is something that we as humans inhabiting this planet need to keep doing.
Doctor, we appreciate your expertise so much. You have more experience in this than anybody else I've met. And I want to ask, if you were in that sub and you realized something went wrong, what would be your course of action? Come all the way down from the breathing to the conserving of water. What would be the first thing you did? And what would you insist that everybody else do too?
Well, stay calm first. Try to reduce your oxygen consumption. Notably, that's something that they're doing.
It gave me chills that he brought up the Challenger. I was at home that day. I was sick or pretending to be sick. I don't know. It's been a long time ago. And I remember watching it. And it was horrible. Horrible. And now we're watching this. Bonafide said, are there any divers that have gone down to look? That I don't know. I've been hearing about robots, Coast Guard, stuff like that. I don't know.
They do have weights. So the physics of these vehicles, we build autonomous vehicles in my lab, is that if the vehicle's heavier than water, it will sink. And if it's lighter than water, it will float. And I do know from reading online and looking at the extensive literature that we've seen, they do have weights that they can drop. So I'm imagining if they got stuck, one of the first things they would do is drop those weights. And then they would actually come to the surface.
Titanium Built said you can't dive down. It's too far down. It's like 3 miles down. Thank you, Titanium Built. Thank you.
And if it's lighter than water, it will float. And I do know from reading online and looking at the extensive literature that we've seen, they do have weights that they can drop. So I'm imagining if they got stuck, one of the first things they would do is drop those weights. And then they would actually come to the surface. Now, the surface conditions have not been that kind. The seas haven't been that cooperating. There have been clouds and the aircraft have been looking. But I also do want to say something about the listening to the knocking, because what we're doing is the Canadians is sending these underwater microphones down. So a sonobuoy is afloat. These are really designed to listen to submarines. And there's a huge number of them. Looking online, the US Navy just spent $2 billion on buying these. They're extremely sophisticated. They're made to work in the top 2,000 feet of the ocean. And this vehicle may be quite a bit deeper. But I could imagine if we could hear that knocking sound on 2 of those sonobuoys, maybe we could use something called triangulation to figure out exactly where it is. So I do think there's technological opportunities that perhaps haven't been taken care of. And the last thing I want to say, as a person who works with the US Navy and submarines, the world's experts in underwater sound are the sonar men that go on these submarines, because they sit there for weeks and weeks and weeks. And I think those are the people we should be asking about, is this a natural sound or is this something that doesn't sound natural? It could be an old buoy with an anchor slapping against a chain, or they could be knocking on the walls. In principle, I wish they would have sent Morse code, because then we would have known it was humans. But perhaps in their current situation, they haven't worked all of that through. But let's just hope they're still there and we can first find them and then perhaps even get them.
Let's hope those noises continue. Dr. Jules Jaffe, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for watching.
This is insane. You can't write this. You've already got the Titanic, which is going to be talked about and studied forever, to be quite honest. The unsinkable ship. And then you have this group of people that go down to look at the Titanic, and they can't be found. Hello, Find Summer's Truth. Wow. Thank you for answering the question. Divers cannot go down there because it's 3 miles down. Let me tell you what, when I get into the pool, it's all I can do to touch the bottom, if you know what I mean. I could not imagine being in the Atlantic Ocean, which is very, very rough as it is, being 3 miles down. Now, other people have taken this adventure, okay, and didn't have a problem. And some have sued the CEO. Extra AF said the bins will kill you. Wow. Hang on. Kelsey said there was only one successful diver who went down. Look it up. Really? There was a diver that went 3 miles down? Damn. Woo. God, I couldn't imagine.
David Wad says he was thrilled when he got the chance to join Ocean Gate's expedition to the Titanic 2 years ago.
Not so much as even seeing the Titanic, but the whole process of going down 12,500 feet safely was so exciting for me.
These are photos he took from the support ship on that trip of the same Titan submersible he was in, now lost at sea. Now to think of the 5 people below the ocean surface, not knowing whether they're alive, and the race against time to find them.
I can't imagine. I mean, especially if the power went out and they don't have light or anything in there. I mean, that just multiplies the terror, I think, of what they're feeling, not being able to communicate, being alone, kind of knowing that it's going to be very hard to come and rescue them if they're on the bottom, even if they were found.
Wad says he felt completely safe on his journey and loved it so much he even invited the OceanGate team, along with CEO Stockton Rush, to Lake Forest to share the experience with the community. Rush and Titanic expert Paul-Henri Nargolet, both seen here, are now lost with the others.
Stockton was so professional, so enthusiastic. I think he's an incredible man. I wouldn't have had them here and tried to get friends of mine to go on the trip the next summer if I hadn't thought that he was completely safe and something that everybody would remember the rest of their lives.
And while Wad says the expedition was run with the utmost professionalism, even his time with OceanGate was not totally without issue. He says one day, one of the large batteries on board the Titan was not charged, and a dive had to be pushed back until it was.
There were little things that went wrong that could have been big things too, but they usually knew about them, and they took care of them in time.
Tonight, he says he's thinking of the families of those lost aboard and hoping. In Lake Forest, Mark Rivera, ABC 7 Eyewitness News.
What? All right. So he had a good trip. He seemed to enjoy himself. My God. Hello, Diana. Diana said, I've been watching this for days. What a horrible way to go. That's what I've been saying. That's what I've been saying. And these people that are making fun of them, I don't get it. I don't get it. Some of these people take up for child abusers, but they're making fun of people that just went on a vacation, basically. What the hell is wrong with them? I mean, don't get me wrong. It wouldn't be my cup of tea either. I'm very claustrophobic. I don't like a lot of shit around me. It's crazy. All right, let's look at this.
There is potentially less than 24 hours of oxygen supply left on board that missing sub that was going.
Now, this was from a couple of days ago. At this point, I don't think they have any oxygen now. Okay. Hello, Sluggy. Sluggy said, back up and running. Glad to see you, Brooks. I'm here. I'm here.
Going down to the wreck of the Titanic. There is some new hope tonight, though, after banging sounds were heard coming from under the ocean. The U.S. Coast Guard and Canadian forces are deploying more crews to join the search in the Atlantic. Crews are combing an area 2 times the size of Connecticut to locate the Titan sub and its 5 passengers.
The Unified Command team is working tirelessly to bring all available assets and expertise to bear as quickly as possible in response to this complex operation.
Naval experts are analyzing data to try and figure out where those banging sounds are coming from. And tonight we're getting new insight on this mission from someone who traveled the ocean depths to see the Titanic wreckage.
Yeah, we are also learning that a local couple sued that company that runs the submersible craft at one point. Fox 35's Connor Hansen joins us live in the studio with those details. So, Connor, that couple wanted to be a part of one of these expeditions.
That's right, John. You might remember Mark and Sharon Hagel, the Winter Park couple who went to space recently on Blue Origin. It turns out they sued the CEO of OceanGate earlier this year, one of the 5 people on the company's missing submersible.
Mark and Sharon Hagel might be best known for their work with children, but they're also known for their love of adventure, from all the way up in space to the bottom of the ocean floor. That's one thing on their bucket list that hasn't been checked off. According to this lawsuit, they plan to visit the wreckage of the Titanic on the same vessel that is now missing. In the suit, they claim the expedition was canceled 3 years in a row, at least one of the times for equipment failure. They paid more than $200,000 and were trying to get a refund. Trips to the bottom of the sea are inherently risky.
All of the things that you think about that could go wrong, with all due respect, it fades away, I have to say, when you get down there.
But it was worth it for Tampa native Michelle Turman, who was the youngest woman to ever dive the Titanic. She was on a Russian research vessel different from the now missing Titan submersible. Turman made the trip multiple times and describes the danger.
Once that piece of refuge taps that hull, you implode in half a second.
Oh my God, you implode in half a second. Again, I'm getting real anxious. Lord, listen to what she said.
Turman made the trip multiple times and describes the danger.
Once that piece of refuge taps that hull, you implode in half a second. Your brain can't even register. So that's like the best case scenario. You don't even know what happened.
Even after seeing a potential disaster unfold underwater this week, Turman says she'd go back.
We go regardless of the risks. It's something that you reconcile within your soul. It's probably similar to an astronaut that goes into space.
That lawsuit from the Hagels wasn't the only one against the company running the submersible. Back in 2018, a former employee claimed he was wrongfully terminated over safety concerns. Live in the studio, Connor Hansen, Fox 35 News.
Connor, thank you. And many people are asking what it would take to pull off a rescue if the people are still alive in that sub. Well, experts say the strong currents are causing the search area to grow bigger by the hour. And that sub could be anywhere from the surface of the water all the way.
That is part of the problem. The Atlantic Ocean is tough. The Atlantic Ocean is tough. I'm going to put the link up if anybody wants to come up and chat about this. Because this is just cool.
Way down to about 13,000 feet under the ocean. Despite the stress, it's likely the 5 people on board are trying to relax or even sleep to try and reduce using more air.
Joining us now is Michael.
Horrible. Horrible. Hello, muscles. This is horrible. I couldn't imagine. Hello, Jeannie.
Good morning. You're back.
Oh my God, it's been a week and a half. Let me tell you, girlfriend, I missed you. I missed all of you. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing good. I'm quite fascinated with this thing, though. My God.
You're actually not too far from
No.
where the Titanic is. Tell everyone about it.
I am like one province over. So I'm probably about 8. Well, no, not even that. Probably about 4 or 5 hour drive to where this is going on.
Damn. Why don't you drive over there for us, Jeannie?
Well, actually, I was
Why don't you get your scuba gear and go down there?
Oh, no, God, no. No. Anything dark and water, I'm not, no. I can't swim, so I would not make it even 1 foot, so.
Let me tell you a story. We're Gen Xers, so our parents didn't really monitor what we watched on TV. So the first time I saw Jaws, I was like 4 or 5 years old. And I thought there were sharks in the bathtub. Okay? So this right here, there's no effing way.
No, it's horrifying. I mean, I can't believe it. But I mean, people pay $250,000 to go on the Titan.
Oh yeah, they do, but they don't pay $250,000 to die of oxygen deprivation or
No.
get imploded or drown.
No, and I seen on the news this morning they had till 7 a.m. before they completely run out of oxygen. But I mean, how well can they preserve their oxygen? They say it's 96 hours they run out of oxygen. But I mean, who knows how they could preserve their oxygen? Maybe like, meditating, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, it's 10 o'clock. It's 10:02 a.m. Eastern time now. So they're out of oxygen.
Yeah. Unfortunately.
God.
Unfortunately.
And they, to be quite honest, they probably ran out before, just from panicking, or from what I read, some of the shields in the Titan don't stand up to the 3,200 meters that they went down.
No. And apparently, when they went on Sunday, they lost all communication when they went down. When they were in the water for about 2 hours, they completely lost all communication. They didn't wait till 9 o'clock that night to call the Coast Guard, because they were supposed to surface back up at 5 o'clock. And when they didn't surface back up, they waited and thought, okay, whatever. They didn't wait. They didn't call the Coast Guard until 9 o'clock that night.
Holy shit.
So, I mean, I don't know. It's horrible. I mean, what's going on is horrible.
Now, what do you think about these people that are online basically saying they deserved it? I mean, what did these people ever do to deserve this?
Nobody deserved it. This has happened before. This has been done before. It's not like it's never been done before. These people, other people have done it. I mean, look at your videos. They've done it before. So, I mean, it's the same thing if you get on a plane or drive, in a car. It's the same thing. You've done it before. There's plane crashes, all the time, but people still get on a plane, So, I mean, it's not logical.
What a good point. What a good point. People have car wrecks. We still drive every day.
Exactly.
There's been plane crashes. People still get on planes every day.
Exactly. So to call people dumb or crazy or whatever, it's a part of life. People are going to attempt to do things that, when a plane crashes, people are going to go back on a plane. It's just a part of life.
Hang on, I want Jules to take the link because her son was actually going to go on this. Jules, grab the link.
Wow.
Hey, RJ. Loved your show the other day.
But, I mean, there's no way. It's not even possible for a diver to go down that far. It's 13,000 feet where the Titanic lays at the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean. There's no way a diver can dive that far down.
All right, here's Jules.
Also beginning
Jules, what's up, girlfriend?
Good morning, beautiful. So glad to hear your voice over YouTube.
Me too. Even though we've been talking on the phone during this week of hell, what'd you think about that penis storm we had?
About your storm?
Mm-hmm.
I don't like it.
Oh, you missed the beginning of the show. When they showed that tornado, I swear to God, it looked like a cock coming out of the sky. But anyway, tell us how you feel about this, because I know your son was going to do this.
Yes, he was. Growing up, of course, is when the Titanic came out, the movie. And he always loved that movie when he was little growing up. So, yes, he has the money to spend on it if he wants to.
Good for him and good for you raising a good son.
Thank you. He actually got the paperwork and everything and was going to fill it out and go down and do it because he said it's just a once in a lifetime dream for him to go do something like that. And I just feel like this. I mean, you take a chance every time you get in the car or walk out the freaking door nowadays, because you don't know when a drive-by or something may happen. And you take a chance at life every day. Live it.
Exactly.
If you can afford it, then live it. I mean, them people don't deserve to die any more than you or me.
Yeah. And it's horrible. It's horrible. And I cannot believe these people. Like, we had a woman in Discord yesterday saying that they deserve it. I'm like, no, these people are philanthropists. They have done a lot for cancer research, AIDS research. They don't just spend their money on themselves. They give back. So why are you saying they deserve this? This is crazy.
I mean, she even said that if my son went, he deserved it too, because he was stupid.
Wow.
Yeah. So.
Nobody deserves to die.
Nobody.
Nobody. No matter what the situation is.
Not until God calls you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we're all going to die. We all have an expiration date, you know, but I mean, through the blood of Christ, we'll get to meet the Father.
That's right. Well, she had me all wound up.
Yeah, I was pretty upset about that. And I thought Just Me was going to have a damn stroke yesterday. By the way, Lisa Aldridge had a birthday this week. Let's celebrate Lisa's birthday real quick. Hang on.
All right.
Happy birthday, Lisa. You are such a cherished friend of mine and such an important part of this community. I hope your birthday was the best.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
And I'm sorry that I didn't say anything the day of your birthday, but you know, I had some stuff going on and I was kind of in and out of power. But I will make it up to you. I promise. I promise. All right, hang on. Muscles says, Jules, wow, let me know whose lip needs fattened. Damn. Yeah, we don't get down like that. I've heard some very terrible things this week, just reading comments, even about Harmony Montgomery. They're like, well, if kids don't act up, these things wouldn't happen. Like, what?
What?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I can do a whole show based off of dumb people, rude people, unempathetic people. Who the hell would say that? Well, if they didn't act.
Oh my gosh.
I told that woman yesterday, I sure wish my son could buy her a damn heart.
She's a child. Are you kidding?
What?
She's a child. Are you kidding me right now?
No, I'm
Christina said she was 5.
Right.
She was 5. And we're going to do a show about Harmony tomorrow. Also, Crime Story Diva had a birthday this week, everyone. I know the show is all over the place right now because I'm just getting back in the saddle, but I just want to take time to tell everyone hello and give shout outs to our birthday people, our birthday girls. Happy birthday, Crime Story Diva. It's so good to be back, and I'm so sorry that I missed so many birthdays this week. Was not my fault. Crime Story Diva said thank you.
You're welcome.
I said our boys' birthdays are coming up soon too. Yes, they are. Yes, they are. My son's going to be 30 soon. Can you believe it? 30 years old. He had kind of a heartbreak. He's trying for his E7 in the military, and he just keeps getting slapped down. He's in the Air Force. And I talked to Greg's uncle, who said, well, he's been rising really fast since 2012. And he said, until he gets into politics, he's probably not going to get that. Anyway, enough about me. Back to this horrible situation.
So the robot that they are bringing in is supposed to be able to go down and is able to see if it can see the Titan in the ocean.
Say that again.
They're bringing in a robot that can go into the ocean. So they're bringing it in to see if they're going to be able to see the Titan. It's a special kind of robot.
I heard the French were bringing it out, which I kind of have mixed emotions about that. I'm not going to get into politics. Because I tell you something right now, if I was in the bottom of the ocean, I wouldn't want a bunch of Frenchmen looking for me. I'd want the U.S. military, but that's just me. Hang on, Jules got booted. Jules got booted. I mean, would you want some French people looking for you, Jeannie?
I live in a French community.
No offense to the French. I'm just saying, would you want a bunch of French people looking for you?
I see what you mean. I get what you mean, yeah. But I mean, if it, yeah, well, I mean, if it can find them, you know, more power to them. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I mean, they're bringing all kinds of resources right now to be able to find them. But, I mean, with the current as well, when you get down so far and you hit a current, like, I mean, they could be anywhere.
Just me said I wouldn't care. Find me. Exactly.
Yeah.
I just don't think this is going to go. This is just looking more grim.
With the time that has been wasted, I agree. Like, well, not wasted, but with all the time that's, you know, gone by now, it obviously doesn't look very good.
Russian Loha said French dips are delicious. Yes, they are. All right, Jules is back.
I'm back. What were y'all discussing?
The French are they're going in there. Now, RJ said they have some of the most advanced ROV. I did not know that.
Yeah.
I thought that our U.S. military, our Navy did.
I thought the French were supposed to be there like this morning.
Alicia said those darn French up to their old tricks. How come French people are so rude?
My husband's bilingual. He's French too. He ain't rude.
Well, your husband's not. Your husband's super cool, but I've come across a few. Now, my uncle Brian, he lives in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada.
Yeah, yeah.
And he has a big problem with French people. A big problem. He calls them frogs.
Yeah, unfortunately, where I live, they don't like English people. I've worked at a few places in my community where it's all French, and they actually tell me to go back to my country. Whatever know how that means, I'm not even sure, but this is what they tell me to do. So, yeah, they're not all nice people.
Snow said Canadian French are nice people, but France people are rude. That's what I've heard.
What people?
Snow said Canadian French are nice people, but France people are rude.
It's a different kind of French. The France.
But, sometimes people are just rude and they don't know they're being rude. It's just how they are.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Like,
just don't have any empathy either.
I know when my daughter went to when she started her French, like they only have French schools here. So when she started, she was speaking English and in the school and on the school bus, and they warned her so many times that she's not allowed to talk English, and she has to talk French.
Lisa said Quebec French is so rude.
They can be. That is absolutely true. They can be very rude. They can. And when you're there, they know how to speak English, but they refuse to speak English.
Mm-hmm. Wiz said, I don't have to go to France to see rude people, just go to Walmart. Great point.
Yes.
Great point. That's another reason I don't go to Walmart. For one, I don't like to see grown men in pajama pants with their pecker hanging out.
And I don't like to check my damn self out after I already walked all over the place getting what
I don't check myself out. And I'll tell you something else. If you can't put on proper clothing to go get your milk, bread, and eggs, I don't want to see you. It's disgusting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Brooks, you know what I look like. You know what I got asked a couple of days ago?
What?
Dude starts talking to me in Spanish, and I'm just looking at him like, I don't know what you're saying. He's like, oh, you know Spanish? I said, no, I'm American. I said, Lord have mercy, I don't look like a Spanish woman.
All right, let's look at this real quick because this is really giving me anxiety. And you know what, Jules? I'm so glad that your son's not going to take this trip now. He's not going to take it at all now, right?
No, not at all.
Okay. No, good.
No.
God. And the Atlantic Ocean is huge. Huge.
Yes.
I still think, not that I'm an oceanographer, I still think they could be trapped in the Titanic. The Titanic is huge. It's big. It's big. And a lot of people go down. I saw, I've been watching several clips, and they can see the bow, they can see the dining room, they can see the staircase, and they actually go into it. So I just wonder if the knocking around. Hang on. Then it said, so if we disagree with you, you time us out. Laughing my ass off. Wow. What are we disagreeing with? Human life? Would you want to be without oxygen right now, Venice? Is there something I'm missing? We're talking about humans that are gasping for air. I think we're kind of all on the same page here. You mocked human death. You're laughing at human death. See, we don't get down like that around here. We don't sympathize with child abusers.
Nope.
No.
We don't laugh when people are at the bottom of the ocean gasping for air.
No.
Joy said, well, they haven't timed me out yet. Exactly. We can all have differing opinions. But if you're just going to be a nasty ass, then no. Ridiculous. Yeah. Ridiculous.
So, yeah, I do believe that they made it down to the Titanic. It's actually a 2-hour down. And they did lose communication 2 hours after they started to go down. They went down. So it's very possible that they did make it down to the Titanic.
I'm concerned about the windshield.
Me too. Because when I heard it had been tested and that guy got fired last year because he came out and he said it's only tested for this many meters. It's not tested for 3,200 meters. Then I said, well.
Yeah, that's what my main concern is the windshield. Because if that thing implodes, then, I mean, caves in, then.
Yeah, but they only went down 13,000 feet, right? Because that's where the Titanic is. It sits at 13,000 feet on the ocean floor.
But the windshield was only like approved for 3/4 of that.
Oh, wow.
Passive said, honestly, by the way, welcome, Passive. We have a lot of new people in here. We're going to tell everyone hello in a second. Honestly, if I didn't implode, they probably froze to death on Monday. That's what I think too. And only 13,000 feet, your lungs and heart can only take so much. We have a lot of new people in here. Let's take a second to tell everyone hello. Welcome, everybody. We have some new names in here. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hold on one second. I got to look at this. It is heartbreaking. Snazzy said, I worry about the fatigue of the carbon fiber as it isn't as flexible as metal. And after so many dives, it would certainly be cracking. Tiffany said, he told them it wasn't safe and not to do it, and they fired him. Now look, so I'll tell you what, when we're talking about fire and water and other things, you can't cut corners with safety. You just can't. Let me tell you something. For centuries, we have seen people have accidents, and those same accidents keep happening.
Yes, and people still do it.
Let's look at this.
For spending time with us, you have made multiple trips in a submersible to that Titanic wreck. I gather it takes around 2.5 hours to get down there. Can you take our viewers on that journey? What is it like to be in one of those subs as it goes down?
Basically, the journey starts with a briefing on board. You get into the submersible, and you have a 2.5 hour trip down to the seabed, which is a controlled descent under a right-hand spin, a right-hand turn. You start to navigate your way down, during which time you're in the water column. You're sending a pinger radar sight all the way through it, and at 15-minute intervals back to the mothership, just to let them know you're still good and you're in good shape.
So I gather, sir, that you know one of the passengers on board, the French submersible pilot, Paul-Henri Nargeolet. Knowing him, what sort of skills does he have that you think might be able to help them with their situation right now?
Yeah, our PH is an amazing individual. He's a great submariner. He's ex-French Navy. He's dived the wreck 37 times. There's no one person who knows more about deep sea expeditions and research than PH. He's a very, very calming individual, very professional every single way. And God forbid, ever in a situation like this, there's one man I'd like to have alongside me, then there'd be certainly PH for sure.
And I'm trying to imagine, once you get to the wreck, I understand it's pitch black. So if you're navigating this sub, what sort of dangers are you looking at?
It's pitch black, freezing water. Imagine what they're going through. Imagine. Gosh.
Out for during this part of the journey?
Yeah, as you descend through the water column at about 1,000 meters, you start to lose any ambient light whatsoever. So you have no idea exactly, what you're looking at because you're trying to conserve power, your life support systems, your communication, your propulsion, navigation, everything's reliant upon power. So as you approach the seabed, you're very conscious of your depth. You start to flare the submarine and slow down your descent. And you then find out exactly where you are. It's quite a complicated process.
And you talked about power. I would imagine if you lose power, and this is all conjecture, we don't know what happened, but if you lose power, how does that affect your descent? Like, what happens to you in that moment?
Well, if we take the scenarios occurred now with Titan, she basically fell out of communication about 1 hour 45 minutes into the descent, which if you correlate that to the trajectory of the descent, they're going to be around at least 2,500 meter point. So the pressure is significant and building, of course.
And I suppose the lower you go, the heavier it gets. So does that descent without power perhaps just speed up? I mean, could you get into some kind of spin?
100%. So, well, not necessarily a spin so much as you just increase velocity. There's resistance is reduced. You will become metaphorically heavier, and it becomes a whole new different game of physics.
Dick, people sometimes talk about how much pressure there is down there, but I'm not sure that I can relate to it. Can you help us understand?
The pressure is extraordinary, and it's something which is very hard to correlate. So it's 6,500 pounds per square inch, and so if you were to relate that into some kind of tangible metaphor, it would be 2 adult elephants who are balancing on your thumbnail. That's the actual displacement that you'd be exposed to.
And so you have a way of showing that, I gather, from when you've been down in the past.
We've taken a regular styrofoam coffee cup, which we write on, and we put the name of the expedition and the time. We fill this with just tissue paper, and that's then strapped to the outside of the submersible in a net bag. And when we eventually come up topside and recovered, the actual same coffee cup is basically that size. So this illustration of the extraordinary pressure that exists, and we're the
pressure. You guys know what I'm talking about. when you
Going up the mountain and your ears
pop.
Yes.
Or, you're swimming and you come up and your ears are bothering you. This is way down. I want to hear that part again. Hang on.
Actually come up topside and recovered. The actual same coffee cup is basically a that size. So this illustration of the extraordinary pressure that exists and we're subjected to, and that makes the titanium hull squeak and creak as well. It's an interesting experience.
So I cannot imagine the stress of what it's like for them down there, cold, dark, in such close quarters. I also can't imagine the stress of what it's like for you, knowing someone down there and having been down there. And I am curious what questions you have at this point.
Yeah, the questions are really, they're more optimistic, and when we can't sit and question the whys and wherefores, the morality and the motivation. It's all really about finding these 5 individuals and hopefully recovering them in good shape. But sadly, the statistics are stacking up against a good outcome, but we're ever hopeful.
Well, the whole world is hoping for that. Dick Barton, thank you.
He said the statistics are stacking up against them. Gosh. Oh, man, oh, man.
Every single second counts.
And I mean, how many times we've been live for an hour and 33 minutes? How many breaths have we taken in the last hour and 33 minutes?
Right.
Think about that. How many breaths have we taken? This is horrible.
I would have panicked and I would have sucked up everybody's oxygen as I was dying in my panic attack.
I was thinking that myself. I'd have sucked up everybody's oxygen. The minute that I knew that we weren't moving back to the surface, I'd have been like, what the hell? Oh my gosh. This is horrible.
There's also a 19-year-old there too, in there. I can't imagine the panic that even his father would be going through, seeing his son, go through this. It's horrifying.
Yeah.
Or we could look at it this way, and maybe they found comfort with being with each other.
True. That's true.
Imagine being the mom. She's
right.
the husband and her son.
Yeah. Let's do that.
Yeah.
That would be terrible. Oh my gosh.
I couldn't imagine.
I couldn't either.
Well, guys, this has been a great show. Tomorrow we're going to cover Harmony Montgomery. I'm going to tell everybody right now, it's going to be a very disturbing show.
Mm-hmm.
Very disturbing. I have gone through the affidavit many times. I don't believe step meth on her own account, but I do believe the law enforcement that has the evidence to back up what she has said. So for people saying, well, she's just lying, no, because in the affidavit, they back up her statements with Facebook, Google, pings. They know what she's saying. They have DNA from many places. Just when you thought it couldn't get any worse.
And unfortunately, I'm sorry, Brooks.
Oh, no, go ahead, hon.
Unfortunately, they had to make a deal with the devil.
Yeah.
In order to get a conviction against Adam.
Yeah. Deal with the devil is what detectives have to do all the time, because you're not going to find a criminal who's not friends with a bunch of criminals.
Yeah.
Proffer agreements, anytime in this country there's a proffer agreement, it's because someone did something. They don't make a deal because you didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah. Kayla should be charged. Like, she was there, she's seen it. She should be charged. But
Hands of one is hands of all.
Sorry, Jules.
I said the hands of one are the hands of all. That's how it is in my state. If you were in that car and you knew, then you're just as guilty.
Yeah. And I mean, and even in South Carolina, I mean, they have to make deals with criminals to get the time. That's
Exactly.
when I hear about these polygraphs and rewards. I'm like, that shit doesn't mean anything because criminals don't talk. There's a fine line between law enforcement and criminals. They each know how the other works.
Right.
Yeah. So we are going to be back tomorrow morning and we're going to go through it. Joy said we're live. Yes, we are. And I want to say thank you very much to my friend Jules.
Thank you.
Very much to my friend Jeannie for coming up. We're going to keep an eye on this going on with this horrific situation. Yeah. In the Atlantic Ocean. Let's give a round of applause right now to our friends, Jules and Jeannie. And I will see all of you back here tomorrow morning. Again, get ready because it's going to be a tough one. I know other channels have talked about it. We're going to talk about it in a different way. And I can't say you're going to enjoy it, but we're going to learn a lot. I will see you guys back here tomorrow morning. Again, thank you, Jules. Thank you, Jeannie. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Mod Squad. And you have a great rest of your day.